Season 3, Episode 8, picking up where we left off in Book 12, about a third of the way through. And Galen has just run off from the shield hero and the rest of the village, and they're trying to decide how to go after him to bring him back, now that he's been possessed by an Emperor Dragon. And we get a little bit here from Ren kind of freaking out over his guilt and getting super depressed over it really easily. And you can see Windia is always mad at Ren, and obviously you find out why a little bit later in this episode. And now Fumi kind of lays into him like, have you ever thought that these monsters you kill have families? And Ren starts really breaking down. And now Fumi's like sighing to himself because he's dealing with a child. And he's like, you eat plants and you eat animals. In the end, you had to take others' lives in order to go on living. And Ren's like, but we're supposed to be heroes. And now Fumi explains that they have to kill the monsters of this world to get stronger so they can save it. It's just kind of survival of the fittest. And he mentions that killing humans would actually get you experience in this world too, which I think is interesting. And the anime actually did a good job with all this stuff. This is where we see Philo getting level drained, and they kind of explain that she ate part of the zombie core from the dragon previously, so that's why they're linked. So I'm not going to rehash all this stuff since the anime covered it pretty well. Pretty much, they're on their way. I kind of jumped ahead here a bit to where they've traveled for a few hours, and they're getting ready to go. And they decide that their goal is to have Naofumi stick his hand down Galen's throat and rip the Emperor's core out. They can't do it for Philo because it's all fractured and circulating through her blood system. And then Rat also makes a really strong anesthetic to try to knock Galen out for a minute so they can get the core without him getting his hand bit off or his arm. But Naofumi's not really concerned about that, obviously, because of his defense strength. Yeah, the anime covered all this pretty well, too. They get to the village. Everybody's happy to see him. Naofumi decides to leave Atla, Raf-chan, and Philo behind because Philo's been running now for however many hours to get to this village. And they kind of glossed over this in the anime, but you can see the whole area is contaminated as they're moving their way toward the dragon nest. And now Fumi mentions how previously Philo had just sprinted up the entire mountain, but this time they're having to stop and fight monsters off the entire time, which is dragging things out. And we get some little things here where Sedina is training Windia and Melty in like cooperative magic, and she's using holy water in her magic because it'll be effective in this area because it's contaminated. So that's like nice little details that they're thrown in there. And Windia is kind of functioning as their guide, and now Fumi's thinking to himself like, is she from around here or something and they worship dragons or something? Like, why does she know her way around here? And this is where Windia points out that the villagers stole the treasure and Galen's probably looking for it in the cave. And she yells at Ren to stop brooding because this entire book so far, he's just like blaming himself for killing these monsters and the dragon in particular. And the anime got this too. They got a lot right with this one, I think, because it's a lot of action. Where Philo shows up because she dragged Atla there because she was freaking out. And then the black sludge from Galen comes out and like grabs Philo and sucks it toward him. And Sedina hits it with a holy water attack. And that one actually works when her regular lightning won't because it's a curse. They did a pretty good job with the attack. They're all doing their different attacks on Galen. Now that all the black sludge has kind of come to him and the whole area has been pretty much contaminated. And they're all fighting and doing their moves. And you get a little thing in here where he shoots their flames at him and Naofumi blocks it. And Rat heals Naofumi. And he's like, it's nice to have another healer besides myself. But yeah, overall, the anime did a good job with this one. Then we get a cool little thing in their fight where Naofumi's holding on to Galen's claw so he can't move because he has the strength of a hero. So Galen tries to bite him, and he's just standing in his mouth to keep his jaws from closing. And Ren's like staring at him shocked. And then Naofumi has to yell to him and be like, stop being distracted and go fight. And of course, because it's a book, you get a little bit more detail. Where Naofumi says that Galen seems like he's only focused on Ren because he hates him, because he was the one who killed him when he was alive. And then Raf-chan uses her illusion magic to make a bunch of copies of him, so it's harder for the dragon to fight him. And we get to see Sedina lead Meltia and Windia into cooperative magic so they can do a big spell, which the cooperative magic they actually use pretty frequently in the book. Well, it's not convenient, but it's pretty cool when they use it. And the spell they use is similar to the one that Sedina used in the Colosseum where they fill the whole area with water, and apparently it can choke enemies. So even though Ren can't swim, it doesn't affect him because he's not one of the targets of the cooperative magic. So they use this moment where Galen is essentially drowning and he tries to get above the water, and Sedina jumps out and attacks him again and gets him. He's like a little bit cut up, but he's not dead obviously. And this is when we get the reveal that the dragon was Windia's father. And the show pretty much did all this just like the book, so I'm not gonna go through it all. Like I said, they did a pretty good job overall with this episode, so it's allowing me to skip pretty big chunks. But this is where we see that Philo has been like stitched to the Emperor Dragon's heart, or the Demon Dragon's heart. And I could be misremembering, but I don't think this was in the show, where the demon dragon offers them a deal before they start fighting. And the deal is obviously that he gets to rule the world. All the humans except for the shield hero will be his minions, and they agree to kill Kizuna from the other world and her companions. And in exchange, he'll defeat all the waves by himself and not kill any more people, pretty much. But they'll be enslaved because he'll be the emperor, the demon dragon king, or whatever. And the reason that the shield hero is an exception is because he would also be a source of his power, because his rage is also fueling the demon dragon, which obviously we find out in this episode he's doing it through the Shield of Wrath. And after some fighting, this is where we see that Naofumi wants to try a failed shield upgrade, and the dragon's like, no, I'm going to force it. So he just forces the Shield of Wrath to level up over and over. And this is where we see the life force stuff come into play that the old lady teaches him, because now the demon dragon's defense is as high as Naofumi's, with the Wrath Shield upgraded like 8 times or whatever it was. So when he's trying to incant his spell, Ren and Raftalia try to attack with life force, and he puts up a barrier that blocks them. And I'm pretty sure that this is where everyone gets blown away, so I'm going to stop here. But I think this is where the next episode is going to pick up, and it looks like we're about halfway through this book. So I'm guessing that this next episode we're going to fly through the second half of this book, because this was a really short video for me because it's all action, and they pretty much stuck right to it. So that's it for me for this one. I'm finally caught up, so I guess I'll try to stay on top of it. If you're still here, like and subscribe and all that. Thanks. See ya.